Hello, good afternoon. As Ogal just said, I come from a completely different field of work. I work in agriculture. I work in the relation between producing food and city vitality, spatial planning, and issues like that. I'm interested in habitat development, regional development, but due to the things that I've been experiencing over the past 10 years, there's another habitat that became of increasing interest to me, which is my body as a living environment for me. So I try to bridge now things between my professional activities and my experience, lived experience as a patient. And talking about that, you see, I'm not obese. I have followed all my life more or less recommendations on diet and on physical exercise and being nice to each other and stuff like that, like general recommendations on public health. And when I was 41 years old, my osteoarthritis was so severe that I had to take a hip replacement. Then a few years later, suddenly I had a heart attack out of nowhere. And another 3 years later, then I had tongue cancer. Well, it was all remediated very well. I went to hospital and I came out, I was reborn, I was refurbished again, and then I could go on with my life. So I have a lot of admiration and feel a lot of gratefulness for the doctors who did that to me. But I also realized that the capacity to remediate things may be very big, but I don't want to end up in that situation at all. So I'd like to talk about prevention and reducing incidents. And this is an issue I know you all know that is very important. I just wanted to give you an image that may stick with you as a reminder. So I think the way we view health is like this jacket. This jacket is nice. It's smooth, there's no stains on it, but there may come a moment that there's a hole in it or it becomes dirty. So what I usually do is take it to the laundry, right? And then it's being cleaned again, and then I say put it on, and then I go on. So this is healthcare, right? Now, but what if you would turn it around? If you not just think about the outside, but also about the inside, and then suddenly a whole different landscape emerges. You see? Now you'll understand that I particularly chose this jacket because it has a very colorful inside. But for me it's a metaphor, because this is all the things, all the wrap-up that leads toward a certain condition at a certain moment in time. So if we take care of all these insides, then we may not need to recur to emergency interventions as we usually do. So let's spend a little bit more effort on the agro-food system, which is this nice slab here, right? Patient knowledge, which is here, and the distance between formal and informal knowledge. Or for example here, this one, also very nice. It's about the way we relate to each other, the way we communicate, and the way we are able to uphold beauty for each other, right? So this is just an analogy for you to say that prevention is very important. Now I'd like to switch to not through the internet, but to the presentation.
Oh, this is the movie, you don't?
Oh, no, it's later.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, this is more or less I want to go through. I'll go through it and don't talk about it. I'm doing that. But well, my concern with prevention is largely the area of public health, and I have a problem with public health because it hasn't served me, and I think it doesn't serve to the extent that it should serve us, right? Because it's based on common, consensuated, generalizable knowledge, based on enormous amount of studies with enormous amount of people, and it provides issues in the we are able then to say, well, this food is more or less safe. Something like that, or this food is more or less okay. It's based on statistical truths, evidence-based research. It's formula-based. Others today have said it in other ways. It's one-directional. This equals that, and it works, but to a certain level only. So take the area of food. Tremendous public debate. I imagine it's no different here than in the Netherlands. It's almost always dealing about the claims. Will this work for that? Does this particular substance remediate obesity or whatever? Any issue, there's always, it's a very contested issue. And it's very difficult to come to really conclusions about what kind of food works for what, right? Now the question is, and this is a question for you, is food a medicine? And I'm asking you this seriously. Is food a medicine? Can you just, who says food is yes, it's a medicine? Okay, a few of them. And who say it's not? And who say it's complicated, right? Okay, well, you're all right. It's yes and no, because yes, because it does certainly add to your health, and it can also damage your health. So it has to do with health. So it is obviously, but it's also no, because it works completely different, and many ways to explain that. But the way I understand it, it's not a single drug, and it's not operating on a single target. So it's like for me, it's like a kind of a soft, tender mist, which runs over a landscape, which is your body, and then tenderly touches upon points in your body and then does something there. Maybe too much a positive image, but it's working with all its 30,000 or more compounds in every tomato that we eat. It's doing something, right? But so if this is all true, if it's not really a medicine, why do we research it as if it is a medicine? And then there's something else comes on top of that. Public health says eat more vegetables and fresh fruit. But I think we have to be concerned about the quality of what we then eat as vegetables too. And then there's a paradox which emerges, and that is that plants that experience more stress have better quality foods. Now, how's that possible? And I'll try to explain it with this image about the caterpillar and the butterfly. The butterfly can only emerge from the cocoon if the caterpillar is strong enough to do that. Right? It has to break through so it has to build up some strength. Now the same is happening with agricultural produce. Our food system has been designed in such a way that we are able to give optimum doses of manure and treatment, light conditioning, water, etc. So we get really well-kept vegetables, but they have no internal strength because they have never been able to engage with the environment. So you need an attack of pests once in a while to build up substances in the fruits to really get the things that you need. You need a drought once in a while to get a strong, good grape. You need the fungi in the soil in order for the roots to interact and develop a defense mechanism. So we need really to take that into account. So my question is, I think we mostly eat caterpillars, where we also could eat butterflies, right? So we have an issue there to solve. So how can we make sure that we eat food that certainly adds to our health, to my health? So that's why we embarked on a project on personalized food with these partners in the Netherlands. I won't go through them, but it's quite a remarkable set of partnerships with Inspire to Live involved in that too. Born out of three urgencies. First, our urgency as patients. By that time, I had become a cancer patient, and together with others, I said, we want to do something about it. Food that works for me. Then there's a crisis in the horticultural sector, because the horticultural sector is fed up with its own produce too, because they're producing bulk products with very little margins or even negative margins, and meanwhile they have all kinds of products on the shelves that they can't sell because they don't know who to sell it. Much better products. And there were, at that time, biomedical findings saying that we could, with, for example, metabolic mappings, come to individual diagnosis in the end saying, well, you should eat more broccoli and you should eat more cauliflower, etc. So, very hopeful things, but that made the project possible. And this is when I want to see the movie. So this movie wraps up this project in 2.5 minutes. That's why I prefer to show you the movie instead of talking about it. It's an animation, and then I'll get at the main issue about it.
Should I play?
Yes.
I am Michelle, and I am unique, and I want to stay healthy as I get older, just like Rick and Thomas. That is why I'm physically active and eat a healthy diet. My diet is based on a well-known program that is based on tests with large groups of people, in the same way new medicine is tested. But I am not just a statistic. For instance, lots of people thrive on whole wheat bread, but it makes my stomach ache. How is that possible? It's actually quite simple. Food is made up of all kinds of compounds to which every human body has a different reaction. What is healthy for one person may be harmful for somebody else. What if you could find out exactly what is good for you, personally? What if you could determine, based in part on your DNA, how your own body deals with the various compounds in your food? You would get what amounts to a map of yourself, also known as a metabolic map. This lets you know exactly what elements in your food are healthy or unhealthy for you, depending on your age, or whether you sit behind a desk all day, or spend your day standing up, or even depending on whether you've slept badly for a couple of nights. I would then be able at any moment in my life to eat the food that is right for me. And if I get pregnant, my baby and I would get exactly the nutrition that is good for both of us. Or if I become seriously ill, my food would help me recover more quickly, or lead a more comfortable life. And in this way, I can stay healthy as I grow old. That is what we all want. But how can we motivate everyone involved to work in the right direction so that we can eat the food that is good for us? Our healthcare system can develop better ways to determine what foods we need and how our body digests them. Farmers can grow food that contains exactly those compounds that we need. And we all, whether we are healthy or ill, can exchange our experiences with food. Will this create the movement we need? Not yet, because everybody remains isolated in his or her own world, and this slows down progress. What is needed is that we start to exchange knowledge, build trust, and start to collaborate. We're not used to that, and yet this is very much needed to make big steps forward and make everyone profit from the results. Good food is different for everybody.
Okay, well, I'll pick a few elements from this movie. This is what matters most to me. You saw all the collaboration things in this in the animation. It's been mentioned by others too, but this is another series of collaborators, patients, biomedical research and care, and horticulture, but put there the food system in general, for example. Now, they all have questions to each other, all legitimate questions. For example, patients to the producers, does your product contain what you claim is in there? They will ask in reverse, will you buy my product? Is your diagnosis reliable? But do you want to collaborate in our research? Can you grow food with demonstrated health effect, asks the medical sector. Horticulture says, well, but do you give food the position then in health that it deserves? And so on and so on. Now the problem is not so much that these questions are bad or are too many questions. The problem is that people wait for each other to solve the questions in order to come into action. I recall one of the schemes of Stephen this morning by the linear way in which research operates. But this is a kind of linear waiting for each other. Well, this should be resolved first, and then we go further. Well, as a patient, well, the common thing is then there's uncertainty on all sides. The point is that we as patients have lots of experience with uncertainty, so this is not an issue for us. So we say, get alive and act up, right? This is the issue. Come on, let's not wait until you finally get the answer that answers with 100% resolution. So that's why the patient movement on food is important and growing. We are facing this. These are books in the Netherlands, but I imagine that you have a series of common books in English on food and what you should eat and not eat in particular conditions. So a lot of fuss. There's 100,000 new cancer patients in the Netherlands. 50% is using food supplements or is experimenting at home with food. So there's huge interest to do something, to take control and to add actively to your own health. We conducted our own questionnaire. 2/3 experiment with food, so even more than 50%, and they are willing to donate DNA for research and development. Again, like Peter says, we don't have a lot of issues with privacy. We just want to get things resolved. And it's not only about the hard Western type of science, but we also want to have alternative takes on food being incorporated and taken serious, like Ayurveda, or there are many other ways to view food and health. Now, there is a beginning European patient agenda, established in 2013, but there was little focus on the role of fresh food and prevention in it. We established a platform, Patient and Food, in the Netherlands, and we elaborated an agenda. And I think the most important issue is this one. We want the actors in the food and health system to collaborate in order to empower food to become the acknowledged medical intervention and prevention strategy, but tuned then to the stage of treatment and the phase of life one is. So you see here this diagram, this cross. You can plot your particular situation there in any moment of life. You want to know what we need to eat. And then there's a series of other issues that we want to develop. I won't go over them. They might seem very logical. The point is that there's an agenda in development, and we want to have things done. And we not only want more and better research, but we want also, for example, put it there, salutogenic society. We're now in a pathogenic society, meaning that we're focused on the things that make us bad, but we want to focus on things that make us good. So we want environments that heal us. We want cities that contribute to our health instead of environments that do not too much damage. Right? So it's a completely opposite thing. So we're not, as patients, I think we should also speak out on issues that have nothing to do with medical professions or care system, but also be explicit about other domains of society that affect us directly. These are the type of organizations and diseases involved, so it's not anymore about cancer alone. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about 2 stepping stones towards the agenda, and that will be my end. So I think patient experimentation on food and health and the establishment of food coalitions is very important. And the first one, several of you have provided ways that alternative ways of getting data from patients is important and how it should be conducted. Well, this is a variation on that. The word I use a lot is that we have contextualized data. Embedded data is within us. You can't separate it. Now, how do you get knowledge out of that? And the thing that I would like to add to all this, the methodologies that use that focus on quantifiable data, I also want to use qualitative data. And you may try to quantify them, but let's take into account the narratives and the stories that we all have on food and health, and see if we can extract knowledge on that. And the funny thing is that many things have been established long ago in the social sciences. The grounded theory is a thing which has been up there since the 70s. That means that you start just looking in empirical reality what things work and what things don't work. And you take the niches, the small examples, and then gradually build your theory. Instead, you have your theory and see if it fits with the real world. Uncertainty is a given. So we need a learning-based paradigm. I think there's a lot to learn from other domains like agriculture and spatial planning. Just to give you an example from agriculture, we've seen that through the dominant agriculture paradigm, agricultural science has come to deliver models of viewing what is good agriculture that do not fit anymore with the farmers. So that means that it is delivering, at least mainstream agricultural science is delivering insights that are meant for farmers that do not exist. So we have a phrase for that, it's called the virtual farmer. Now my worry is that healthcare is developing in similar fashion, and that we're developing healthcare which is meant to be for a virtual patient. So we have to go to the embeddedness of the data and then the context, the ecological, social, cultural, economic context in which this health is being produced, and then see if it still fits with the healthcare system. And then eventually, with all the data collection that we do, the issue of ownership and what is being done with also the economic value that is coming out of that, we have to think carefully about that. And I think that was exactly what Stephen was pointing at in the last part of your slide. We think that maybe health data cooperatives may be a thing. And for example, if you could gather patients and if there's some economic value coming out of that, then we could refund this economic value into things that create healing environments. Not necessarily research, could be, but also other types of issues. So you could create other types of flows there. Now, then a little bit, a short view on coalitions. A food supplement on prostate cancer. Now, food supplement is not fresh food. I acknowledge that immediately, but it's our stepping stone to find a link within the health system. You see there on the left hand, Fritz Schröder is one of the old wise men supporting the Inspire to Live movement, and he's done already 10 years ago, 15 years ago, research showing, based on epidemiological studies in Asia, that vitamin E, lycopene, and soy substances put into a supplement, they may slow down the development of the increase of the PSA levels with a factor 2.6, which is quite considerably. That may add another 3. That will take about 3 years' time, for example. So this is important. The point is that he wasn't able to get this thing on the market, to his big frustration. It was patented, so there was some substantial research behind it. Now, what we did in this project with personalized food is get this collaboration going on between his organization, between us as patients and suppliers, producers of a food supplement. So we now have this coordinating group established. We have now this supplement on the market. And we have a follow-up organized and a financial feedback mechanism, and this is what is on the thing. This is it's in Dutch. In English, it says the company supports the Foundation for Scientific Research on Prostate Cancer with €1 per bottle for this organization. And only this slide resumes the difficulties with getting food things on the agenda, because it's called ProstaPrev. Then you couldn't mention that it was meant for prostate cancer, because that's impossible. You can't do that. So we had to find all kinds of ways to overcome that. And one of the earlier speakers was also trying to find ways to go beyond the ethical, the legal dilemmas. But this is one of these ways to go beyond that. We have to find sideways. Okay, then to show you the dynamism of this, of the development of the supplement, it started in 2005 with research by the academic group in Rotterdam and Numico in Danone. So they had a recipe that was working. In 2014, we established this coordinating group. And we got it into production with this firm, with the sales company. And now we are planning additional research. And we're trying to do a community build-up. with patients, with urologists, with oncologists. There are 2 more researches projects being planned, phase 4 and experimental research. Our results are replicable, and well, to have a further study on the active compounds. But then there's a new phase coming up, which I personally find more interesting. Because if we then have a food supplement, can we work it back into a fresh food pattern? That will be interesting, right? So, including a food pattern that reflects the views of patients on what is good food in that particular situation. Now, we're now working towards a pilot called I Choose My Food for My Health, in which we aim to get about 100 patients, prostate cancer patients, in an intensive coaching program by food experts and cook experts, home delivery of personalized food, which is an innovation for the horticultural industry, and they will get you will be able to order your box with all the things that you think is good for you at home. We will be monitoring the patient-reported outcome measures, and so the research is not about if the food is working or not. It's about if patients-reported outcome measures is a way of measuring the workability of a project. Our hypothesis is that people will have improved welfare conditions anyway, but not necessarily that the prostate cancer will be gone. That's not the main focus. And we will document the innovation process. Now, this is the coordinating group. It's expanding. We have the main horticultural producers from the country with it, a municipality of Rotterdam. And so this is my concluding slide. So in the end, what is really what you can build on? Well, I think first, uncertainty. Paradoxically, I think this in the not knowing, there's a lot of confidence to be held if you're able to deal with it instead of, I don't know, and let's find out, right? Which is a completely different position. The other one is co-creation, let's do it together. And the third one is patience. These are the 3 factors you can build on, and the rest is rubbish. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much.